Hello everyone, hello, it is me, it is I, hi, hello, hi, welcome, or welcome back. It is officially October, Geektober, and I'm so excited to talk about my October TBR. So let's go ahead and get started with my October TBR. Per usual, I will be separating it by reading vlogs, etc. and things like that. I see that my camera is like locking in on me and it's also locking in on Chucky's face. Nice. So yes, so let's go ahead and get started with our October TBR, and I'm going to have Chucky help us with our October TBR. So let's go ahead and get started. The very first reading vlog that I'm going to be doing is a Junji Ito reading vlog. So Junji Ito, you guys may have heard me talk about him last year. I have been obsessed with this man since like 2021. I love his work. He writes really gruesome, horrific stories that'll literally just like leave you staring at a wall and traumatize you. But they're great. So I want to read a few of his books and probably do a reading vlog for them. Starting with two that I actually bought many months ago and I still have just yet to read them. The first one being Frankenstein, which is Junji Ito's take on the original Frankenstein tale. And I am excited to read this. That's it. Like that's it. So Junji Ito writes a lot of horror manga, so there is illustrations that can be quite gory and horrific. Just gory and just absolutely disturbing, but I love it. So I'm going to be reading this one. The next book that I'm going to be reading by Junji Ito is No Longer Human, and I believe this is based off of another original story as well. And I don't know what this is about. I think it's about zombies. I could be completely wrong. Mine has been a life of shame. I can't even guess myself what it must be to live the life of a human being. So it's supposed to be very dark, and it's Junji Ito, so what else can we expect? As you can see, again, the horror art is just downright disturbing. So there's that one. The next one that I want to read is Deserter by Junji Ito. I really want to get all his whole collection and just like have it up in my wall on like my bookshelf, just because I love this man's work, okay? I love this man's work. I love his illustrations. I love the disturbing tales that he tells. And so I really want to pick up this one. Deserter is another short story collection, I believe, and I love his short story collections. Shiver is my favorite one thus far, but I haven't read this one. The next one that I want to pick up is Soichi, and this is a short story collection off of one of Junji Ito's most famous characters, which is Soichi. Now, Soichi is a very peculiar, strange child who's pretty crazy, and I know eventually he ends up marrying another iconic character named Fuchi, and so I really want to read like Soichi's stories and his whole short story collection, and I'm really desperately hoping that he comes up with a short story collection full of nothing but Fuchi stories, because Fuchi is like probably my favorite Junji Ito character. Next is Ali by Junji Ito. This one, I don't know if it came out already or it's coming out. I think by the time I release this, it's going to be out. And this is also, I believe, another short story collection that has new short stories that are not in any of his other short story collections. So I'm excited to be reading this one as well and adding it to my beautiful Junji Ito collection, because most of his short story collections have this like they all just kind of go well together, and I just love it. I love it. And then the last one that I want to read by Junji Ito that I'm also going to be obtaining for my collection is Fragments of Horror. And this one is, again, another short story collection by Junji Ito. These next two books that I will be reading in October are going to be mainly because I made a video in the very beginning of the year, which I will post somewhere here, where I basically talk about 24 books that I want to read in 2024. And you guys, I'm not even halfway through that list of 24 books. There are a couple, I believe one specifically that I took out. I just don't want to read it at all anymore, and I removed from my list, but I did replace it with something else, and I'm still like less than halfway through the 24 books that I want to read. So I plan on reading these two. We'll see how that goes because they are thickums. And the first one is going to be Empire of the Vampire by J. Kristoff. This book is, I believe, set place in a world where there was vampires and there was people that killed the vampires, and eventually the vampires started to unalive pretty much all the people that were all the vampire hunters until there was only one left, and he is about to be unalived by the vampires. They're like, okay, well, do you have anything to say before we unalive you? And he's like, yes, let me tell, sorry, I hear my dog. Let me tell my story. And then this is his story. And I believe there's a sequel as well. The next one is The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson, because I've had my eye on this one for so long and I don't have the best of luck so far with Brandon Sanderson. I read Trust of the Emerald Sea and it was okay. Like, it was, I think I rated it 4 out of 5 stars. It was good. Like, I really did enjoy the story. I loved the story, actually. The only thing that like knocked it down a star was the fact that like it read like a children's tale, even though it was supposed to be adult fantasy. And then I read Elantris, I read Warbreaker, I read Yumi and the Nightmare Painter, which I DNF'd, and like, so I haven't had the best streak with Brandon Sanderson, and I'm really desperately still trying to enjoy this man's work. So I have The Final Empire, I also have The Way of Kings. Don't think I'm gonna get to it this year, but I will definitely be trying to get to The Final Empire, the Mistborn trilogy, book 1. Lastly, the last books that I'm going to be reading, I'm going to mention quite a lot of books here, and the reason why is because I'm going to mention quite a lot of books here, but I will only be reading half of these books. I don't know which ones are going to be read for sure, to be honest with you, because I am not choosing my TBR. In fact, I plan on going to Universal Studios and having horror icons choose out my TBR. I'm going to Horror Nights tomorrow, so we shall see if I'm able to get any of those characters to help me choose my TBR. If not, I guess I'm just gonna have to wait for regular Universal Studios to help me pick out my TBR. But basically what I want to do is ask these horror characters or these horror icons to pick out what book I read. So among all of these options are The Eyes Are the Best Part by Monica Kim, and this one I believe is a villain origin story that takes place in a Korean American perspective. So we see it's Crying in H Mart meets My Sister the Serial Killer in this feminist psychological horror. So this is one option. The next one is Incidents Around the House by Josh Mallerman. These two were also in my fall TBR, so books that I want to get to in the fall. And this one is basically about we follow the point of view of a little girl as we go to her house, and we basically see her as she communicates with this invisible entity that she calls like her imaginary friend. And time again, this imaginary friend tells her, "Can I come into your heart? Can I come into your heart?" And the little girl responds, "No, no, no." Once this starts happening, incidents do indeed start to happen around the house. Peculiar things start to happen around the house, and her parents start fighting more and more and more. And they start to think that maybe this imaginary friend isn't so imaginary. Another option is The Whispering Dead by Darcy Coates. This I got last year and I've been dying to read it. I believe I have the first 3 books and it's a 5-part series, so I really do want to read this one. I sat down and read the first chapter at Barnes & Noble and I was automatically hooked. Like, I wanted to continue reading it. However, I have not been reading it. So I need to get to it. I desperately want to read this book. I think it's about I want to say like ghosts, that like this woman that can talk to ghosts or talk to spirits or talk to zombies, something like that. Something's out to get her, I think. Yeah, she's determined to help put a ghost to rest. Kira digs into the spirit's past life with the help of some unlikely new friends. So that's that one. The next option is I Was a Teenage Slasher by Stephen Graham Jones. This one takes place, I believe, in the 80s. Yes, late 80s, 1989, in La Mesa, Texas, where there was a spring of a whole unaliving spree, right? Where people just kept showing up unalive after unalive at unalive. And I believe we are following the perspective of this teenage slasher as he's older, telling the story of him when he was a teenage slasher, or we're following the victims. I'm not sure which perspective we're following, to be honest. But it looks fun. It looks great. I've been wanting to read something by Stephen Graham Jones, and on top of that, I've been wanting to read a slasher. I have yet to read a slasher, so I'm excited to be reading this one because we like slashers, don't we, Chucky? Chucky says yes. Chucky says yes. The next book that is an option, a contender, is Bury Your Gaze by Chuck Tingle. In this one, we are following a person that works in Hollywood. I'm not sure exactly what he does, but he does work for some sort of production or some show, and then the executive producers are asking him to unalive one of his gay characters for, you know, for the vibe, for the algorithm. And he's like, no, dude, like, I'm not gonna do that. Like, I don't care if it's not the algorithm, I'm not doing that. And so we follow him as he believes that these people are actually out to get him because he's standing up for what he thinks is right. And I love Chuck Tingle's work. I read Camp Damascus last year, and I like how he takes creepy supernatural approaches while still dealing with very real topics like homophobia, like conversion camps, things like that. So still talking about very real horrible topics, but bringing in supernatural paranormal elements to it. So that's another option. Alright, so the next book is Stolen Tongues by Felix Blackwell. In this one, we are basically following a romantic getaway, a romantic cabin dream vacation that this couple has gone on, right? In the middle of nowhere. They stayed in a cabin, and it's snowing and beautiful and relaxing until it's not, okay? Because the couple starts hearing things outside of their cabin. They hear the screams of animals, the cries of children, and the mad babble of hundreds of mournful voices. And a dark figure looms near the windows, whispering to the wife every single night. Now, the couple does, in fact, one day go home, but the wife is just not the same because it seems like something followed her. And this is based off of this is a contest-winning story that was originally on No Sleep, and this has also been received widespread acclaim and is now being adapted into a feature film. So you gotta know this is gonna be good. And then next we have Maeve Fly by CJ Lead. This has been on my TBR since last year. I got it because I was like, I need to read this. In this one, we are following our main character, Maeve. Yes. Yeah, so she's Maeve. Her name is Maeve Fly. And during the day, she basically works as an ice princess in the happiest place in the world. So assuming she's Elsa at Disneyland, right? Or Disney World. And by night, she starts to have some really bad habits and might start unaliving people or become associated with somebody who likes to unalive things. And we basically see this woman as she descends into madness and becomes ultimately the villain, right? A villain, a bad person, a serial unaliver, maybe. I don't know if she actually becomes a serial unaliver. I'm just assuming. But this is a origin story of this character, and I've been wanting to read this since last year. Didn't get the chance to. Hopefully I can read this year. And then last but certainly not least, another book that I really want to read is American Rapture by CJ Lead. This is also the author of Maeve Fly. And in this one, we are following pretty much the apocalypse, okay? I think a virus has spread out that is making people into zombies and unaliving people and making them into like flesh-eating zombies. And we see the rapture begin to happen and how society collapses. So excited to read that one. I really do want to read that one, so hopefully that one is picked. And so anyways, you guys, that is it. That is everything that I want to read for October. Again, those last horror books, only half of those are going to be read. If I make time for the other ones, maybe I can. Don't think I'm going to get to it though, because it's October. So have a lot of things planned for October for my main channel. So if you guys are into paranormal stuff, I do plan on making a lot of like paranormal content on my main channel for October. So if you guys want to check that out, I will link the link down below to my main my paranormal channel. I'm going to be at the Queen Mary, and like we'll see how it goes. We'll see if they'll even let me film during this like paranormal investigation. And if you made it to the end, put a eyeball emoji. Thank you guys so much for watching. Now, bye. Say bye, Chucky. Bye, Chucky. Say bye, Chucky.